Hey, this is Sheila, and I'm just going to share another random moment of my life. And actually, this one's really hard to share because I'm going to get personal, which makes it even harder. So I've got my sidekick, Aaron, with me to help with that. So this morning, when I was getting ready for church, we've been praying a lot and waiting on a lot of answers. And God just kind of hit me with, why are you praying for what you're praying for? And when you get the answer, what are you going to do with it? Which I thought, well, that's kind of something to stop and think about. And then right after that, I got the thought of the blind man in the Bible, I believe in the book of John, that when Jesus went to heal him, he took mud and spit on it and then put it on his eyes, which you think about is just really kind of gross. But he was healed. And then right after that, God brought to my memory of being a young girl in church. And then I had to wear a squeaky brace when I was younger. I don't know how much of you know about me, but I was born with a birth defect and had a lot of surgeries at a young age. But anyway, this vision is when I was a young girl in church. And a lot of evangelists used to come by, and I was always the young girl that they would say, bring up that young girl or that crippled girl, and she's going to get her miracle tonight. And they always had this process of bringing me up, of course, laying on hands, which I believe in all of that. I do, always will. And then they would have me sometimes take off my brace and my shoe that had the big lift on it. They were just the ugliest shoes in the whole entire world. And then have me walk up and down the aisles, and everybody would pray, good, loving, believing people. And they'd have me walk up and down the aisles, and thinking, I guess, in that process, then my miracle would happen and my foot would grow. And of course, it never did. And but I remember as a little girl understanding miracles and why the miracles should occur. And all during that process, understanding that my miracle as a young girl had already occurred. Because at a very young age, I received the greatest miracle that anyone could ever receive. And that was the miracle of salvation, because I gave my heart to Jesus at a very young age. And for a child, any child, to give their heart to Jesus and never see Jesus, but believe in Jesus and give the heart to them, well, that's pretty huge. And I'd already had done that in my life. So my miracle had never occurred in the sense of receiving this huge miraculous healing in my foot growing, and but my miracle of salvation had already occurred. So I received my miracle. And I understand miracles to be, when they occurred, you don't have to work them up. Like, I didn't have to walk up and down an aisle and take off my brace and my shoe in order to receive this most outstanding miracle from God. Because if God's going to give a miracle, God's going to give a miracle. I believe that. And I believe there's purpose in his miracles. I believe if he's going to give you a miracle, it's going to be one, so he gets glory for it. And also, so others will come to know him and receive salvation. And in my given incident, I already had salvation. And truly, if my foot grew, would others come to know him just because a little girl got a foot from God? When I already had all the means in the world to give him glory and to speak of who he was, so others would come to know him. So I'm not really for sure where to go with that, other than I need to think of now at the time why God took me to the man and the mud and the spit and the healing of the blind man. And so I was asking Aaron this morning, I kind of left what I was doing, like, hey, tell me, why did Jesus spit in the mud? God showed me this, and this man got his healing through the spit and the mud. What was Jesus really trying to show there? So I'm going to kind of let Aaron take it from there, and it kind of confirms a few things for me in that.
Right. Well, as believers, we all believe in healing. We believe in God. That's part of the atonement of the cross. He can heal immediately. He has healed immediately. But the problem comes with those who go out throughout their life and don't feel like they're good enough to receive a healing. They have faith for salvation, but they don't have their healing, and they wrestle with that. They don't. Sometimes they're told, don't go to doctors, because if you go to a doctor, it's a lack of faith. And if you can't have faith for healing, then you must not have enough faith to be saved. And that just destroys faith. It's not a biblical faith either. In fact, that John chapter 9, when he spit on in the dirt, made clay and put it on his eyes. What Christ is teaching us there is, yes, he heals. In fact, he is the one who heals. But sometimes he uses the properties of earth. that he created, mixed in with his divine healing to bring about the solution. And so you have there, once again, he spit on the ground, mixed it with his creation, put on the eyes, and had him wash it, and that's what healed. And so we as believers know that God is the healer. Physicians and nurses and all of our medical staff out there, we praise God for them. Praise God for the wisdom they have, because they have great skills and great wisdom, but that is treatment. Only God can still do the healing, whether it's the healing properties he already put in our bodies or divine healing supernaturally that he does. He still is the healer, no matter if he does it without help or whether he does it through doctors and nurses and dentists and physical therapists. He uses that, and he puts that. So a lot of people think they can't go to the doctor. They can't use devices. They can't use anything to help them with their healing because it'd be a lack of faith. When, as Sheila pointed out, salvation is the greatest part about faith. If you're saved, that is the greatest healing of your life, because that's the only healing that's going to last forever. That's it. Every other healing you get in your body in 100 years will be gone because you're going to die. The greatest healing is salvation, because that's the only thing that will last forever. So really, all healings, every miracle that God does, is to promote salvation for other people. But we can't sit there and be angry at God for setbacks of life, for physical things. Something Sheila and I was talking about earlier is sometimes in our life, things happen to us not because our parents sinned. Because in John 9, that's what the disciples said. Who sinned, him or his parents? Then this man was born blind. And Jesus said, neither. Did you hear that? Mm-hmm. He said neither. This man was born blind to bring the glory of God about. And a lot of times people think, well, it's my parents' fault, it's my fault, it's somebody's fault. Sometimes it's just because we live in a fallen world. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. And so when it comes to receiving healing and help, the greatest faith is salvation. That's the greatest. And so we don't need to fight so many times. God's going to heal. It's either God, he's supernaturally, or God through the medical. Either way, you're still trusting God for the healing.
And I want to encourage anybody out there who may be struggling with, why was I born this way? And you may be thinking, you might be mad at your parents because of the way that you were born, or maybe you're mad at God the way that you were born. But as Aaron stressed, you live in a fallen world, and your parents don't have control over all the factors that have taken place since the fall of Adam and Eve. I mean, it's been generation after generation of sin coming into that, and it's imperfect people birthing imperfect people. And if you're mad at God, and we all kind of go through those stages sometimes, especially if you're born with a birth defect or something's happened to you in life. And the Bible in Psalms 139 says he created you in your mother's womb. And so, I had that question. Great, really, God? I came out looking like this, and your hands came into my mom's womb, but yet you made me like this, missing toes, and really, my hand looks like this too, and you make this, and you call this marvelous work? Really? This is your big stamp of the M on me? And the truth of it is he's not looking down at your body going, yeah, that's the marvelous part. He's looking at your soul going, that's the marvelous part. That's the part of you that we're working on. It's whole. That's the part of you that is complete. All right? So I want to encourage you. I pray that if you are angry with your parents, that you get delivered from that anger from your parents, because there are some factors in that birthing and developing process that they honestly have no control over. And with God, yes, he did create you in your mother's womb, but the part of you that is marvelous that he's talking about is your soul. That is the complete work of Jesus Christ after you receive him. And your healing can come through working with the doctors on things and devices to assist you in life. And I'm now referring to my prosthesis as my device, if you will. It is my mud. Okay, I wasn't the blind man that Jesus spit into the mud and made, a pact and put it on my eye, but it is the mud that I get to walk with on a daily basis. And this is huge for me. I'm going to show you my mud. Okay, you see this? Here you go. This is my mud. Okay, and nobody wants mud to be put on them. Okay, and it's not pretty. But I tell you what, it was my healing when I went to the amputation process, and I was a little girl that had to walk into a room full of doctors, and they asked me what I wanted, and I said to cut it off, and they asked me why, and I said because it hurts. So you know what? that amputation process was my healing. And now I wear my mud on a daily basis, and it's not pretty, but I'll tell you what, I don't need 2 real feet in order to be complete in my soul. And within this imperfection and the incompleteness of my body, I understand the wholeness of my soul. That is the marvelous part in me. And it is the beautiful feet on the mountains that bring the good news, and that's not physical beautiful feet, that is spiritual beautiful feet. And so I want to encourage anyone out there that's struggling with a disability of any type, and you're feeling incomplete and you're not feeling whole, remember where your wholeness truly comes from. And Jesus only needs your soul, okay? Not a complete, perfect, beautiful body. So I want you to remember that, and whatever mud you're dealing with, be thankful for the mud, because that is really your healing and your understanding of who you truly are and what you can really accomplish from your soul.